It had been a week since I made love to Willow, and yet the memory of it lingered, raw, powerful, intoxicating. The thought of her, of what we'd shared, aroused me in ways I hadn't anticipated. And since when did I, Jayden Santiago, start making love? I fuck women. That's what I do. That's what I've always done. But with her, everything had shifted. We'd returned to work like nothing had happened, wearing masks of normalcy. Still, every glance, every subtle brush of her hand pulled me back into that night, our night. Then one evening, while we lay tangled in each other after another round of slow, consuming passion, she playfully broke the silence. "Jayden," she said softly, tracing lazy patterns on my chest, "I want to know you, the real you. I want to understand who you are and what you need." I stopped what I was doing and looked down at her, fully, deeply, because I knew exactly what she was asking. A flicker of excitement sparked in me, but fear followed close behind. What if I went too far? What if I gave her too much too soon, and she ended up hating me for what I am? I cradled her face in my hands and met her eyes. "Baby, we don't have to do this right now. This moment is just for you. I want you to enjoy it. No pressure." But Willow wasn't letting go. "Jayden, I want to see you, without anything between us. I promise, whatever it is you need to show me, I can take it. God help me." Reluctantly, with a quiet resolve, I stood and stretched my hand toward her. She took it. The fire in the living room crackled softly behind us as I led her down the quiet hallway. We stopped in front of that door. Plain dark wood, but it held weight. My truth sat behind it. I turned to her. "You said you wanted to understand me. All of me." Willow nodded. "I do." I unlocked the door and stepped aside, letting her in first. The room was nothing like the rest of the house. Soft lighting, minimalist decor, a deep burgundy velvet chaise in the corner, a sleek cabinet, its glass polished, housing silk ropes coiled like fine art, a low table with blindfolds and cups arranged like a ritual, and in the center, a massive bed, king-sized and inviting, elegant, intimate. Willow's eyes moved slowly across the room, landing on each detail with quiet wonder, not fear, but curiosity. "So," she said, turning to me, "this is where you do all the pain and fun stuff?" I chuckled at her phrasing but nodded, serious. "This is me. A part of me I don't let most people see. Not unless I trust them. Not unless I want them to truly know who I am, beneath everything else." She stepped forward, fingers trailing along the edge of the bedpost. "So, what does being in this kind of relationship feel like? What do I get if I say yes to this with you?" Relief washed over me. She wasn't running. She was asking, listening. You get pleasure. You get to be taken care of completely. And the most important part, I stepped closer. You get me? All of me. I meant every word. I couldn't let her walk away. I had to give her space, but I had to make her understand just how deeply I wanted her. "Willow, we don't have to rush anything. Take your time. Think it through. But know this, I've wanted you since high school. I haven't stopped wanting you since. And more than your body, I want your trust. I want to know what you fear, what you crave. I want to earn the right to hold all of it." Her breath hitched. "And what if I don't know those things yet?" she asked quietly. I smiled, touched her hand, and said, "Then we'll find out together. And I promise, it'll be one hell of a journey." I reached for her hand, not to pull, just to hold. "I'll think about it," she said after a pause, "and I'll let you know. Take all the time you need," I said, lifting her hand to my lips, pressing a kiss to her knuckles. "I'll be waiting, no matter what your decision is." I had been restless since the weekend with Jayden. I told him I'd think about it and get back to him. This is the man I've lusted after and yearned for. I want to give him everything he asks of me without hesitation. But can I? Will I be enough? I was a virgin. I mean, as of just 2 weeks ago. And immediately, the memory of the things he did to my body made me blush, and shamefully wet at the same time. "Focus," I whispered to myself. By evening I was drained, mentally, emotionally, yet I hadn't come up with an answer for him. I gave up trying and picked up my phone, calling the only person I could talk to about something like this. "Tony?" She picked up on the second ring. "You forgot all about me ever since you and that hunk of a man got together," she teased, her voice half playful, half scolding. "I know, and I'm sorry," I sighed. "Work's been insane, and I spent the weekend with Jayden." "I dragging out the words like she'd been holding them in. But still, don't go ghosting on your girl. I need some girl time with you. Alright, love. I miss you too. I promise, next weekend is all about us, I said with a tired smile. We talked for a while, catching up on everything we hadn't said over the past few weeks. But Tonia, being the one person who knows me better than anyone else, finally asked the question I knew was coming. I know you didn't just call to hear my sweet voice. What's going on, Willie? I sighed, the weight of it pressing down on my chest. Jayden, I said, and before I could finish, she gasped. Please tell me that sexy son of a beast hasn't done anything to hurt you. I swear I'll beat his ass. If I wasn't so emotionally wound up, I'd have laughed. No, I replied quickly. He hasn't done anything wrong. I paused. The words were harder to say than I expected. He told me why he didn't pursue me in high school. It wasn't because he didn't want me. It was because he's not into the kind of relationship I thought we'd have. He's into BDSM. I barely got the words out before I realized I was crying. Tonia went quiet. Then, in the way only she could, gentle but grounding, she said, So what do you want to do now? I don't know, I whispered. Up until 2 weeks ago, I was a naive virgin. And now I've gotten his attention. I'm scared I won't be enough for him. What if I can't give him what he wants? What if I disappoint him? I know, love, she said softly. I don't want to lose him, Tonia. I want to be able to give him pleasure the way he gives it to me. But how? Tonia didn't even hesitate. Listen to me. You do what you've always done. Go for what you want. And trust me, Jayden doesn't just want pleasure. He wants you. And I'd bet anything he'll be more than happy to compromise. You think so? No, she said firmly. I don't think so. I know so. And you know I'll be right here, baby, whatever happens. It had been a week of non-stop work, trying to finalize the proposal for the new contract I'd just secured. But even that didn't stop the constant hum in the back of my mind. Willow. Her face. Her voice. The uncertainty of her answer. I had been patient. I hadn't pushed. Hadn't asked. Not once. Even though I saw her at the office, and every time, the temptation to drag her into my office, lay her on my desk, and make wild, desperate love to her almost overwhelmed me. My body burned with want, but hope was what kept me steady. That hope was what kept me awake at night. So when Raphael, my butler, came to announce the presence of a visitor, I raced downstairs with the excitement of a child whose parents had come home with his favorite candy. Raphael moved to open the door, but I stopped him. I'll get it, I said. He looked surprised but said nothing, stepping back. I reached for the handle, my heart pounding, silently praying. Please let it be Willow. I'd give anything for it to be her. And then it was. She stood there on my doorstep, simple yet stunning. Her fingers twitched at her sides. Her eyes were full of something nervous, but brave. I froze, thinking she might be here to tell me she couldn't be part of this world with me. I opened my mouth to speak, to tell her it was okay, that I understood, but she beat me to it. I want this, she said, lifting her eyes to meet mine. But I want you more. And if this is who you are, Jayden, I want to learn you. I want to try. I didn't move for a long moment, just stared at her like she'd cracked something open inside of me that had been sealed shut for years. Then I moved, fast, crossing the space between us in 3 strides. I wrapped her in my arms. Not rough, not rushed, just strong, grounded. My lips pressed gently to her temple. Thank you, I whispered. You have no idea what that means to me, mi cielo. Willow swallowed hard, her heart pounding. Just go slow, okay? I stepped back, looking her in the eye. Slow is all we're doing, I promised. This is about you, not just me. We go at your pace. You say stop, we stop. You say wait, we wait. She nodded, breath shaky but sure. I offered her my hand again, like I had in the hallway that night. And once more she took it. We returned to that room. Same soft lighting, same space. But now it felt different, warmer, deeper. She stood barefoot in the center, wearing one of my black shirts that brushed the middle of her thighs. I stood behind her, quiet, present. You don't have to do anything, I said softly. Tonight is about trust. That's all. If we never touch another toy in this room, that's okay. What matters is that you feel safe here, with me. Willow turned to face me. Show me. Just show me how it begins. I smiled, soft, reverent, and walked to the cabinet. I chose only a silk blindfold and held it up for her to see. No restraints, no pain. Just this, I said, to help you focus on the feeling, not the fear. She nodded. I stepped behind her, brushing her hair aside, and gently tied the blindfold over her eyes. Can you breathe okay? I whispered near her ear. Yes. Good girl. The praise hit her like lightning. Her breath hitched, heat cooling low in her belly. I moved in front of her again, letting my fingers skim her arms, her waist, her thighs, never demanding, always asking without words. Tell me if something doesn't feel right, I said, or if something feels too good and you need me to slow down. My hands cradled her face. I'm going to kiss you now, then I'm going to touch you. That's it, nothing more tonight. And I did. I kissed her, slow, sweet, deep, and then my hands mapped her body with reverence. Every soft moan was a green light, every shift in her posture, permission. By the time I helped her to the bed and pulled her onto my lap, she trembled, not from fear. From what? From trust. As I whispered affirmations and brushed my lips over her shoulder, I knew this wasn't just about dominance or pleasure. This was about belonging. This was the beginning of something neither of us had ever truly known before. And so a relationship pattern began between the two, boss and employee by day, wild lovers by night. Jayden introduced Willow to things she had no idea about. They both agreed to keep the relationship private, but at the company, Jayden could barely keep his hands off her. Any moment they found themselves alone, he would kiss her until they both ran out of breath, touch her in places, do things to her. And once they emerged, the staff would notice how they struggled to maintain their composure. Soon, whispers started around the office, but Jayden couldn't have cared less. At this point, all he wanted was Willow, and he had her whenever he desired, regardless of where they were. They continued like that for 6 months, ignoring how fast the rumors of their affair were spreading. The company hosted a mid-year party to celebrate its success, and it was at that event that Willow got the shock of her life. The Santiagos were present, and Jayden didn't really have time for her, but she understood. His family was around, and it wasn't as if they had ever made their relationship public. Not that Jayden hadn't been treating her well. He was attentive, generous, always surprising her with thoughtful gifts, whisking her away on weekend getaways. And God, the sex was getting wilder each time, with Jayden introducing her to new things. Some painful, some sweet, all erotic and intoxicating. But in all those 6 months, not once had he told her he loved her. Willow briefly excused herself to retouch her makeup in the powder room. So, you're the tramp Jayden's been having an affair with? Excuse me? Willow said, raising her head to see a young, strikingly beautiful woman standing beside her, applying lipstick. Do I know you from somewhere? Willow continued. Apart from having seen her earlier with the Santiagos, she was sure she had never met the woman before. Of course you don't, the woman replied coolly. And no, you wouldn't know me because you're way beneath me. Just so you know, I'm Kayla. I'm the woman who's going to marry Jayden. So I suggest you stop whatever it is you think you have with him. With that, she turned on her heel and left the room, returning to the party. Willow didn't take her seriously. Jayden would have told her something as important as this. She brushed off the encounter and returned to the party as well. Jayden's father was addressing the guests when she re-entered the room. You all know how the media has been having a field day with my son's bachelor status, and I would like to personally inform you all today that my family and the Fernandos have decided to go into a merger. And to seal this great business deal, our children Jayden and Kayla will be getting married. The whole room burst with laughter and guests congratulating the newly engaged. I searched Jayden's eyes to see if what his father just said was true. I mean, he's the only one that matters in all of this. But it was as if Jayden was purposely avoiding meeting my eyes. I have to leave this place before I make a mess of myself, I thought, barely able to stand. Not even pausing to understand what was happening, I ran out to the road, flagged down a cab, and climbed in. That was when I let out the tears I had been holding back. Oh my God, I didn't want her to find out this way. I had struggled to tell her about the merger, about how my family would expect to seal it with a marriage deal. But I couldn't bring myself to say anything to her. And now she had to find out like this. Not that there's any good way to learn the man you slept with the night before is getting engaged. I avoided her eyes because I knew the hurt I'd see there. I knew what it could do to me, to us, once our eyes met. And then, I watched her leave, watched her run out while I stood there, pretending to be happy, smiling at the people who had gathered around to offer their congratulations to Kayla and me. I excused myself and stepped outside. Just then I saw her cab pull away. I pulled out my phone and called her, but it rang without an answer. "Ma'am, we're here," the driver said to me as we arrived at my place. I got out on shaking legs, handed him the fare, and somehow managed to drag myself to my door. How I found my keys, unlocked it, and got inside was a miracle, because by then my tears were already blinding me. The moment I stepped inside, I collapsed to the ground and cried. The pain in my chest was too much. I knew I had told him I had no expectations. I had said I was willing to take the relationship for what it was. But a part of me had hoped that he would come to reciprocate my feelings. Even then, I never expected the kind of shock I got today. We were together the night before the party. And yes, I noticed something was off, but I thought it had to do with work. When I asked, he brushed it off as being exhausted. Willow woke to the morning light pouring in through the curtains, but it felt cold against her skin. She lay on her side, fully clothed from the night before, her eyes swollen and dry from crying. She hadn't slept. Not really. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw him, Jayden, standing beside her. Kayla, smiling, silent. She reached for her phone, instinctively, stupidly, hoping for a message. There were 5 missed calls and 2 texts from Jayden. "Willow, please, call me. I can explain. Just, please let me explain." She stared at them, heart pounding, but didn't reply. Instead, she stood up slowly, her legs heavy like lead. Her home felt foreign, empty. Her body still ached, but it was her heart that felt broken. She walked to the mirror and barely recognized herself. "I was just another secret," she whispered. "Just another thrill." She wanted to scream, to break something, but she didn't. Instead, she turned on the shower and stood under the spray for a long time, hoping it would wash him off her skin. It didn't. Jayden hadn't gone home. He sat in his penthouse office, shirt wrinkled, tie hanging loose, staring out over the skyline like the answer might be written in the clouds. His phone was still in his hand. Still no reply. He had made the one mistake he promised himself he'd never make with her. He had lied by silence. He should have told her, weeks ago, before it exploded in front of everyone like that. Before he saw her eyes fill with betrayal and confusion. Before she ran away from him like he was a stranger. He had never felt helpless like this. Never wanted to tear down his family's empire so badly, just to undo one moment. "God, please? I don't even care about the deal anymore," he muttered into the empty room. "I just want her to talk to me. Yell at me, slap me, something. Anything." His voice broke. I heard her. She didn't deserve this. Willow gave me more of herself than I ever had the right to ask for. He stood up, jaw clenched. "I'll do anything to earn her back." Grabbing his coat with that promise in mind, Jayden headed straight for her place. Willow stood in the kitchen, clutching a mug of untouched tea. It had gone cold like everything else around her, like the messages on her phone, like the quiet ache in her chest. She didn't know what she wanted more, to see him or to forget him. A knock sounded on the door. Her heart dropped, then pounded. She didn't move at first, just stared at the door like it had betrayed her by knowing. Another knock, slower this time, hesitant. Jayden. Had to be him. She stepped closer, unsure whether she was going to open it or scream through the wood. On the other side, Jayden stood frozen. He could hear faint movement. She was home. He didn't deserve to be here, but he couldn't stay away. He rested his hand on the doorframe, forehead dropping forward with a quiet sigh. "Willow, it's me," he said softly, not sure if she could hear. "Please, I just want to talk, or listen, or just see you." No response. He clenched his jaw. Tried again. "I should have told you everything. From the beginning. I didn't mean for you to find out like that. God, Willow, you don't even know how sorry I am." Willow's fingers hovered over the handle. She could still hear him. The way he said her name. It broke something all over again. But it also soothed something raw inside her. She opened the door. Just a crack. Jayden's eyes met hers instantly, red-rimmed and desperate. "I'm not asking for forgiveness," he said. "I'm asking for a chance to explain, to fix what I broke." She opened the door wider, arms folded across her chest like armor. "Then talk," she said, voice tight. But this time, Jayden, you don't get to control the pace. He nodded once, slowly. Fair. Completely fair. He stepped inside, careful not to come too close. The air between them was heavy, charged. Start talking, she said, barely above a whisper. And don't leave anything out this time. Jayden exhaled. And for the first time, maybe ever, he let the truth fall from his lips without defense, without charm. Only the raw human man behind the walls he'd built too high. Jayden came in, heaving a sigh of relief. He moved to touch her, but she stepped away from his hand. Just talk, she said flatly. I never wanted you to find out this way, Jayden began. Hell, it wasn't even supposed to be announced that day. And, not that I'm making excuses, but I was looking for the perfect time to let you know about it. He paused, then added, Kayla's family and mine have been friends for years. So when they proposed a merger, and tying it together with a marriage deal, I didn't see anything wrong with it at the time. Jayden tried to give the best explanation he could, but the truth was, all he could think about was keeping Willow. Even if it was selfish, he couldn't bear the thought of losing her. Willow listened, arms crossed, her face unreadable. When he finished, she shrugged and said, well, I guess since it's out in the open now, there's nothing to be done about it. Her voice wavered slightly, but she held firm. I suggest we put a stop to whatever this is. The word whatever burned on her tongue. She remembered Kayla using the same dismissive term, like what they had meant nothing. We were two grown adults, Jayden cut in, and what we had wasn't whatever. It was real. At least it was from my end. Jayden stepped closer, his expression strained. I was actually hoping, he began cautiously, that we could reach an arrangement. I'll buy you a house, take care of you for the rest of your life. Just stay by my side. Willow's eyes widened in disbelief. What the hell do you mean, stay by your side? She asked. In a few weeks you'll be married. What exactly do you think that would make me? Willow listened, Jayden said quickly. The marriage with Kayla, it's strictly business. That's all. She stepped back, disgust rising in her chest. So you want me to be your mistress? Your kept woman? Is that how little you think of me? Willow, stop, he snapped. Don't make me the monster here. I'm just trying to come up with a solution where we both get what we want. These kinds of arrangements happen all the time, in the circles I grew up in. And besides, you don't really have anything to lose. You get to have me. His voice was no longer calm. There was desperation behind it, but it only made it worse. Willow stared at him, stunned. He always thought of me like this, she thought. What the hell was I thinking being with him? I never thought you'd say something like that to me, she said quietly. I need to teach you something, Jayden, about the kind of woman I am. Her voice was steady now. For starters, I have everything to lose by being in this kind of arrangement. My pride, my self-worth, my respect. She stepped closer, eyes locked on his. And just so you know why I won't agree to this, do you want to know why? Jayden didn't answer. He couldn't. Willow nodded slowly, her voice breaking. Because I love you. God, I love you. And for you to even think. She stopped, shaking her head, trying to hold herself together. Well, I think enough has been said, she finished. And I also think we should end whatever this was. She paused. From now on, we relate only as employer and employee. Nothing more. Jayden opened his mouth to speak, but she cut him off with a firm voice. If you have nothing else to say, I'll kindly ask you to leave. She walked to the door, opened it, and turned away. Jayden moved toward her, stopped, then walked out in silence. Once she was sure he was gone, Willow closed the door, locked it, and slid to the floor, and cried herself to sleep. It was all she did for the rest of the weekend. Weeks went by with everything looking the same. The office, the skyline views, the humming of the keyboards, the crisp scent of espresso and ambition in the air. But to Willow, every single thing had changed. She walked into the boardroom, head held high, dressed in a sleek navy suit that hugged her frame with subtle authority. If anyone had expected her to fall apart, to quit, to crawl away in shame, they were disappointed. She hadn't flinched. Not publicly, at least. Not when the whispers had started again. Not when Kayla showed up last week to tour the company with Jayden on her arm. Not when she watched Jayden speak in meetings as though he didn't once know every inch of her body. She became colder, sharper, untouchable. But beneath the ice was still the ember of pain she buried deeper each day. Jayden noticed it. He noticed everything as long as it was Willow. He tried to respect her stance and the boundaries she had set by not touching her, restraining himself from calling and stopping the gifts, especially after the last one was returned to him. But it was killing him. He watched her slip farther away every day, turning into a version of herself that was more powerful, but closed off. Each morning since their confrontation, he would watch her from his office window as she stepped out from the cab, her heels clicking confidently, her face unreadable. The merger with Kayla's family had gone through. The press announcement had been scheduled. The wedding was less than 3 months away. And yet, Jayden wasn't sure he could go through with it. Not with Willow so close by. Not without checking to see if she was still in the company and hadn't left him. One afternoon, as Willow returned to her desk from a meeting, she sat down and rested her head when her phone buzzed with a new message. She wanted to ignore it but decided against it, picked up her phone, opened it, and boldly written on the screen was his message. "Let's talk. Wait for me after work." That was all the message said. The office slowly emptied as the golden haze of sunset spilled through the glass walls, casting long shadows across the floor. Willow remained at her desk, her fingers idle against her keyboard, heart pounding louder than the fading hum of conversations around her. Everyone had left. The elevators had gone quiet. Still she stayed. She told herself she was only waiting to lock up a report, that she hadn't seen his message more than 10 times, that she didn't care what he had to say. But then she heard the door to the executive wing open, and her breath caught. Jayden stepped in, his suit jacket slung over one shoulder, shirt slightly unbuttoned at the collar. His hair was tousled from running his fingers through it, something he always did when he was nervous. His eyes locked on her immediately. He didn't speak at first. He just looked at her, like she was water in a desert. "I didn't think you'd stay," he said finally, his voice rough but steady. Willow stood, her face unreadable. "I almost didn't." Jayden took a few cautious steps closer. "Thank you for giving me this moment." "This isn't a moment," she said coldly. "You better get to the reason why you asked me to stay." "Please, Willow, can't you just see I can't keep my head straight without you?" he said, voice breaking. "Just tell me what I must do to keep you by my side." "Please, not this again," she said, her voice weary. "Let's just stop. It's exhausting already." She exhaled deeply, gathering the last of her restraint. "I will not be your mistress, and I'm saying this for the last time. If that's all, I'd like to leave now." She stood up, and without waiting for a response, she walked past him and out the door, leaving Jayden standing there in silence, holding onto the pieces of what he had broken. Willow continued working and living like a woman who wasn't torn and broken. She spent more time with Tonya, and soon she found herself going on dates, thanks to Tonya's persistent matchmaking. It wasn't as if she enjoyed them. If anything, they exhausted her. But to keep her mind off Jayden, she agreed to every date Tonya set up. She was on one of those dates when Jayden walked in. Without a word, he strode straight to her table, picked her up and hoisted her over his shoulder, then stormed out of the restaurant, leaving gasps and stunned silence in his wake. Willow was too shocked to speak. When they reached his car, he gently set her down and waited for her to get in. She refused. She stood there glaring at him, and so he did the only thing he could think of. He kissed her, right there in the open, in a public place. It wasn't gentle, it was desperate, possessive, a raw reminder of everything unspoken between them. When he finally pulled back, his voice was rough and commanding. "Willow, get into the damn car before I do more than kiss you. You know I will. So get that cute ass of yours inside. Now." Stunned and trembling, Willow got in. He slid in beside her, and the driver pulled away. Only then did she find her voice. Fury poured from her like fire. "How dare you? Who do you think you are, doing that to me, and now kissing me in public? What do you think people are going to say, Jayden?" She was shaking with anger. "Can you just stop with this torture? Let me be." "Not a chance," he shot back. "I told you from the beginning, you belong to me. I'm not going to stand by while you go out with another man." "I do not belong to you," she snapped. "I'm my own woman. I can be with whoever I want. You're getting married, Jayden. I have every right to move on." His jaw clenched, the muscles ticking. "You really think I can stand watching you be with someone else?" They both fell silent as the car came to a halt. Jayden stepped out first, then held the door open for her. I'm not getting out, she said stiffly. Then she turned to the driver. Please take me home. The driver looked at her through the rearview mirror with a regretful shrug. I'm sorry, man. I can't. Willow scoffed. Well, since your control freak of a boss might fire you, I can't say I blame you. She climbed out, ignoring Jayden entirely, and began to walk past him. But before she could take another step, he scooped her into his arms again. Jayden, she cried. He said nothing this time, carrying her toward the door of his building. Not until they were inside did he set her down again. This time, they just stared at each other, two storms colliding, breathless with everything that still lingered between them. Willow's eyes were filled with hurt, fury, and disbelief as she broke eye contact with Jayden and walked to the door, only to discover it was locked. Turning back to face him, she said, Please, can you open the door? Let me leave. I think we've both done enough for one night, and I still have to deal with what you did outside the restaurant. But Jayden didn't budge. Nah, Willow, you're mine. I won't let you be with another man. Just so you know, I'm obsessed with you. There's no turning back. You don't get to say that, she snapped. You don't get to act like I matter when you're the one marrying someone else. You're engaged, Jayden. What part of that don't you understand? It's not real, Willow. You know it as well as I do. It's just a business deal. And it's something I want nothing to do with, he said. Then don't, she pleaded, her voice trembling with desperation. God, how she loved this man. It's not that simple, he muttered, hating how they were both torturing themselves with this aching, unspoken need. Then let me go, she said, softer this time. But by now, Jayden had already walked up to her, their bodies almost touching. You know I can't, Willow, he whispered. He lifted his hand, gently pulling her face closer to his. When he saw that she wasn't fighting anymore, he kissed her, madly, hungrily, like a man starved too long for the one thing he could never forget. In her heart, Willow told herself this would be just for tonight, just once more. Tomorrow she would walk away. No more fighting, but not tonight. Me, Kara, it's been too long, he moaned in her ear as he slipped her top off. I can't hold on anymore. I need to have you. I need to be in you, now. Me too, she whispered breathlessly. I want you, I need this, please take me. I'm yours. Within minutes, their clothes lay scattered on the ground. Jayden stepped back for a moment to admire her, his eyes full of awe and hunger. God, you're so beautiful I can barely believe it. Take me now, Jayden, she urged. Not here, he said, scooping her into his arms. Let's go to the bed. And with that, they kissed their way into the bedroom. Jayden carried her into the bedroom with a quiet urgency, his mouth never straying far from hers. Each kiss grew slower, deeper, as if they were both trying to memorize this moment, unsure if it would be their last. When he finally laid her down on the bed, he paused. His eyes roamed her body like a man seeing color for the first time. She was laid bare before him, not just in skin but in soul, and the weight of it hit him all at once. You have no idea, he murmured as he knelt beside her, brushing his fingers along the curve of her waist. How much I have missed this, not just the way you feel, but the way you look at me. Willow swallowed hard, her chest rising with uneven breaths. He leaned down and kissed her again, slow and reverent this time. Every movement between them was unhurried, like a dance built from ache. Jayden took his time exploring her body, relearning the softness of her skin, the shiver of her breath, the gasp in her throat when his lips traced the places she remembered too well. Willow clung to him like he was her anchor and undoing all at once. There was no space for doubt now, only the raw honesty of touch, the confession of sighs, the way her hands dug into his back when he finally entered her. There were no words needed. Their bodies spoke in all the ways their pride had kept silent. They moved together with the familiarity of lovers and the desperation of strangers who had lived too long apart. It wasn't perfect, it wasn't pretty, but it was real. Afterward, tangled in sheets in each other's arms, Willow lay quietly on his chest, her fingers tracing patterns against his skin. Jayden's hand rested protectively on her hip, as if afraid she'd vanish with the morning light. Neither of them spoke right away. The silence wasn't heavy, it was full. Full of everything they hadn't said, of everything they still didn't know how to say. But somewhere in the quiet, Jayden whispered, "Stay." Willow closed her eyes. She didn't answer. Not yet. She stayed the night. And before dawn, they had made love more times than she could count, each time more desperate, more consuming than the last, as if trying to make up for all the time lost and all the pain unspoken. By 5 a.m. Willow stirred. The room was still dark, painted in soft shadows, and Jayden lay beside her, his chest rising and falling in a deep, steady rhythm. Even in sleep, he looked peaceful, beautiful, vulnerable in a way she'd never seen before. She watched him for a long time, memorizing the curve of his lashes, the lines of his face relaxed in slumber. Something in her chest tightened painfully. Then quietly she slipped out of bed. She gathered her clothes and tiptoed into the bathroom. There she dressed slowly, her reflection in the mirror unreadable. She didn't cry. She didn't hesitate. She didn't look back. By the time she reached her apartment, the sun had begun to rise. The world outside was waking up. But for Willow, everything felt eerily still. Nothing. She sat at her desk and opened her laptop. Her resignation letter was already drafted. With steady fingers, she typed a few final words, read through it once, then hit send. There it was. Message delivered. No second thoughts. No regrets. She stood, packed a single suitcase, and walked through her apartment one last time. Every corner held memories, some too sweet, some too bitter. She didn't linger. She closed the door behind her and left for her mother's house. Willow arrived at her mother's house just past noon. The cab came to a stop at the familiar driveway. She stepped out slowly, suitcase in hand, paid the driver, and rolled her bag up to the front porch. Before she could knock, the door swung open, and there stood her mother. Without a word, Willow dropped her bag and stepped into her mother's arms. The tears came fast. She didn't speak, didn't explain. She just cried, deep, aching sobs that racked her entire body. Her mother held her tightly, stroking her back in quiet understanding, saying nothing, asking nothing, just holding. When the storm inside Willow finally calmed, her mother gently pulled back to look at her. "Are you hungry?" she asked softly. Willow hesitated. She wasn't, not even a little. But she also knew how her mother would worry, how she'd fuss if she said no. "Yes," Willow said quietly. "I'd like something to eat." She followed her mother into the kitchen, her steps heavy, her heart heavier still, carrying more than just exhaustion, carrying the weight of goodbye. After eating, Willow sat quietly at the kitchen table, her fingers wrapped around a warm mug of tea she barely sipped. Her mother moved around the kitchen and practiced silence, giving her space, but never straying too far. "I'm going to stay here," Willow finally said, her voice low. "For a while. I don't know how long." Her mother turned, studying her daughter's face. There were no follow-up questions, no press for details. Just a quiet nod of understanding. But as she set a dish in the sink, she asked softly, "Is running really the answer, Willow?" Willow looked down at her tea, her heart twisting at the truth behind the question. "I don't know," she whispered. And that was the honest answer, because she really didn't. Jayden stirred awake that morning and instinctively reached for Willow, but felt nothing. His eyes flew open. The sheets beside him were cold. Her clothes, her scent, her warmth, gone. He sat up quickly, his heart thundering, refusing to believe what his instincts were screaming, praying he was wrong. "Willow?" he called out, hoping she was just in the bathroom. Silence answered him. He threw the covers off and got up in a rush, checking the bathroom. With a tightness growing in his chest, he searched every room in the penthouse, each one quieter and stiller than the last. She was gone. He reached for his phone, unlocking it with shaking hands and dialing her number. He wanted to scold her for leaving without a word, for not waking him up, for not saying goodbye. But all he got was, "The number you're calling is switched off." Panic set in now. A deep, sinking dread. He dressed quickly, grabbed his keys, and drove straight to her apartment. He knocked, rang the bell, waited. No answer. He checked with the doorman, no sign of her. Maybe she just went out to clear her head, he told himself. Maybe she needed space. So he went home, convincing himself that he would wait, that maybe she'd call, that maybe they'd just see each other again on Monday at the office. He had no idea what was really coming. Monday morning came. Jayden walked into the office, his usual mask of cool composure firmly in place. But beneath it, he was wired with anticipation. He barely slept all weekend. Every knock on the door, every buzz of his phone, he'd hoped it was her. Now, as he passed through the glass corridors of the company, his eyes scanned for any trace of her. Her sharp heels, her focused gaze, the soft scent she always carried like a signature. Nothing. He entered his office, expecting to see her light on, her chair slightly turned as it always was. Still nothing. He sat down, agitated, and reached for his phone. No missed calls. No messages. Pressing the intercom, he spoke to his assistant. "Let me know the moment Willow arrives." By noon, there was a knock at his office door. His assistant stepped in hesitant. "Sir, HR just called. They asked me to inform you that Willow submitted her resignation." Jayden's expression froze. "Let me see the email." She stepped forward, laptop in hand, and showed him the message. "She sent it Saturday morning," she said quietly. Jayden stared at the screen. Subject, resignation. To whom it may concern. Effective immediately, I am resigning from my position. Thank you for the opportunity. Willow Evans. He read it 3 times. The words blurred. Resigned. He stood up so fast his chair rolled back and hit the wall. Still trying to process the news, he barely noticed the door swing open again. Kayla walked in like she owned the place. Since their engagement, she'd been trying to insert herself into every part of his life, pushing for dates, dropping by unannounced, but he had made it clear. He wanted none of it. He gave a nod to his assistant, who quietly exited, leaving the two of them alone. "What are you doing here, Kayla?" he asked, voice cold but steady. "Haven't I made it clear that you can't just walk into my office like you own the building?" She pouted. "We don't spend much time together. We're getting married soon, Jayden." "Don't," he cut her off. "I have more important things to deal with. I'm asking you to leave." "There's nothing more important than me," she snapped. "I hope this important thing doesn't involve that tramp of a woman." That was it. He had told himself he could go through with the marriage, that it was just business, nothing more. But hearing Kayla speak about Willow with such venom, such disrespect, something inside him snapped. In that moment, he realized the truth he'd been trying to suppress. No other woman could ever take Willow's place. He was hopelessly, desperately in love with her. Without another word, Jayden picked up his car keys and walked out of the office. He had only one goal now, to find his woman. Jayden drove like a man possessed. Every stoplight was an enemy. Every second stuck behind a slow car felt like a countdown he couldn't afford. His hands gripped the steering wheel tight, jaw clenched as he tried to think through the haze of panic clouding his mind. He'd called her phone a dozen times, still off. He'd gone back to her apartment, but just like on Saturday, the whole place was cold and empty. No trace of her. No scent, no sign, not a single item out of place. She was gone. He'd spoken to her neighbors, her landlord, even stopped a delivery guy coming out of the building. Nothing. No one had seen her. Not since Saturday. He drove past her favorite cafe, empty. Parked across from the bookstore where she liked to browse. Nothing. Every place that had once held a piece of her now felt hollow. Her absence swallowed everything like a black hole he couldn't fill. By late afternoon, he was running out of places and options. And yet he couldn't stop. His chest was tight. His stomach in knots. He kept replaying her words, everything she'd said, everything she hadn't. "Then let me go. Please, just let me leave." He hadn't. He couldn't. And now she had. Out of ideas, he finally pulled up at Tonia's place. Jayden barely gave himself time to breathe before he jumped out of the car. He rang the bell, knocked twice, and stepped back. The door opened slowly. Tonia looked up at him, arms folded across her chest, expression cold. "She's not here," she said before he could speak. Jayden opened his mouth, but she cut him off. "Why won't you just leave her alone? You're about to marry someone else and still, you chase my friend like she's your backup plan. Do you know how long she's been in love with you?" "Please," Jayden said, his voice thick with desperation. "If she's not here, can you at least tell me where I can find her?" Tonia's glare didn't soften. "Why are you even looking for her? She left for a reason. I know I hurt her. I know I messed up, but I need to talk to her. I need to make this right." He stepped closer. "Please, I'm not asking for your trust. I'm asking for a chance. Just tell me where she is and I'll do the rest. I'll fix it." Tonia didn't respond immediately. Her eyes studied him, weighed him, tested his sincerity. Then, without a word, she turned and closed the door in his face. Jayden stood there for a moment, more lost than ever, but no less determined. He wasn't giving up. He couldn't. She was out there, and she was still his. But first, he needed to take care of the mess he had created. He got back into his car and drove straight to his family house. It was time to end the engagement with Kayla. For good. On the way, he made another call, this time to someone who could help. "Find her for me," he said into the phone. "Whatever it takes. I need her location." Because no matter what it cost him, he was going to find Willow. It had been a week since Willow left everything behind and came to her mother's house. She sat by the window of her childhood bedroom, knees pulled to her chest, a steaming mug of freshly brewed tea in her hands. The scent of ginger and honey rose into the air, warm and familiar. She sipped without tasting, still trying to get over Jayden. It'll take time, she told herself. Outside, the sky was pale and overcast, mirroring the heaviness in her chest. Birds flitted between the branches of the old tree she used to climb as a girl, back when life had rules, back when love didn't feel like a wound. Her mother had gone to the market, giving her space. She appreciated the silence. No forced conversation, no questions. Just the soft hum of the house breathing around her. Still, her thoughts wandered. They always wandered to him, Jayden. She hated how easily his name still stirred something in her. Even now, days later, her body ached with the memory of him, of that night. The way he touched her like he couldn't bear to let her go. She squeezed her eyes shut, willing the memories to disappear. Then don't. She had begged him. Just once she asked him to choose her. And he hadn't. Not really. It didn't matter what he said about business deals or meaningless engagements. If it had meant nothing, he would have ended it. But he didn't. And she couldn't keep waiting for a man who chose everything else but her. Her phone remained off. Not because she didn't want to hear from him, but because she did. And she didn't trust herself not to answer if he called. She needed distance. She needed time. She needed her power back, before she shattered completely. Willow glanced around the room that used to be hers. The posters were long gone, but the books still lined the shelf. It felt like stepping back into a softer version of herself. A version untouched by betrayal and heartbreak. For the first time in a long while, she didn't know what came next. But she knew what couldn't come next. Jayden. She took a deep breath and turned her phone face down on the dresser. And somewhere not too far away, he was coming. Getting his family to agree to breaking the engagement with Kayla had not been easy, but Jayden was determined. They argued, pleaded, pushed tradition, legacy, and expectations, but none of it moved him. Finally, with his patience hanging by a thread, Jayden laid it all bare. He told them everything, that he had been into BDSM for years, that marrying Kayla would never result in children, because he would never touch her, and if they were hoping for grandbabies from that union, they could forget it. The room fell into stunned silence. His mother, sharp-eyed and always more perceptive than she let on, sat forward. Who is the woman you're willing to risk all this for? Jayden's expression softened. He didn't even realize he was smiling as he began to describe Willow. Her strength, her kindness, her fire, the way she looked at him like she saw the man behind the mask. The way she made him feel like more than just a name or a future CEO. When he finished, his mother studied him quietly. Then she smiled. Si ella acepta, quiero 5 nietos. If she agrees, I want 5 grandchildren. Jayden laughed, but his eyes stung. If she'll have me, I'll do my best. His father opened his mouth, clearly wanting to object, but one look from his wife silenced him. Jayden turned to his mom. I just need to find her first. She waved her hand like it was the most obvious thing in the world. Then what are you waiting for? Go. Find my daughter-in-law. And what about the engagement? He asked, though he was already on his feet. Leave that to me, she said with a smirk. I'll send the message to Kayla's family. Just go. And this time, don't let her go. Just then Jayden's phone buzzed. It was the private investigator he'd hired. I found her, the voice said. Sending the location now. Jayden's pulse thundered. Thank you. He hung up, grabbed his keys, and bolted out the door. The message came through seconds later. Jayden stared at the address on the screen. His lips parted in a whisper. Mi amor, I'm coming for you. He slid behind the wheel of his car and pulled into the street with purpose blazing in his chest. And this time, nothing would separate them again. The quiet hum of the countryside was interrupted by the distant sound of tires on gravel. Willow sat at the kitchen table, a half-eaten slice of fruit bread in front of her, untouched. Her mother stood by the sink, drying dishes, but both women turned their heads at the sound of a car pulling into the driveway. Willow's heart skipped, then thudded. No one's supposed to come today, she said, her voice low and cautious. Her mother moved to the window and parted the curtain. She didn't need to say a word. Willow already knew. Jayden. Her hands trembled in her lap. No, she whispered. How did he? Do you want me to send him away? Her mother asked gently, not turning from the window. Willow stood frozen for a long second. Then slowly she shook her head. No, I'll do it. Outside, Jayden parked and got out, barely remembering to close the door behind him. He looked up at the house, at the porch, at the wind chimes swaying in the late afternoon breeze. He hadn't been sure what to expect, but standing here so close to her, he felt like he couldn't breathe. Then the door opened, and there she was, Willow, wearing soft, faded jeans and one of those oversized sweaters she always wore when she needed comfort. pulled back loosely, her face bare. And still, she was the most beautiful thing he'd ever seen. She stepped outside and walked to the porch steps, stopping just short of him. Neither spoke at first. Just silence, thick with everything they'd left unsaid. "You found me," she said, her voice almost a whisper. "I never stopped looking," Jayden said hoarsely. She looked down, arms wrapped around herself, trying to steady the storm inside her. "What are you doing here, Jayden?" "I came to tell you the truth," he said, stepping closer. "I ended it. Engagement. My family knows everything. I told them I wouldn't marry someone I didn't love, and I love you, Willow." Tears gathered in her eyes, but she blinked them back. "It's not that simple." "I know," he said softly, "but I had to come. Even if you never speak to me again. Even if you slam that door in my face. I needed to tell you, to look you in the eye and say it. I choose you." Willow's throat tightened. Her legs felt unsteady beneath her. "You hurt me," she whispered. "I know. And I'll spend the rest of my life trying to make up for it, if you let me." She looked at him, really looked at him. The man who had broken her. The man she still loved. And behind all the pain, she saw the same fire in his eyes that had always pulled her in. Jayden took one more step forward. "Mi amor, please come home." Her lips parted, trembling. "I don't know if I can trust you," she said. "Then let me earn it. Every day. For as long as it takes." Willow turned her face away, blinking hard. Behind them, her mother silently stepped back inside, giving them space. And in that quiet, vulnerable moment, she looked back at him. And she didn't say no. Willow stood there, trembling. "He said he loves me. He's here, for me. He ended things. Should I trust him?" She wondered. Can I really believe him this time? But when she looked into Jayden's eyes, really looked, she didn't see the cold, unreadable CO everyone else saw. She saw the man who held her like she was the only thing that made sense in his world. The man who had broken her heart, and was now standing here, begging for a chance to mend it. She saw truth. And without another thought, her body moved before her mind could catch up. She ran, straight into his arms. Jayden caught her with a gasp, holding her like he'd never let go. His arms wrapped around her with the kind of desperation only a man who almost lost everything could feel. Her face pressed into his chest, tears finally falling, silent but fierce. "I love you so much, Jayden," Willow whispered into his shirt, voice thick with emotion. Jayden pulled back just enough to look at her, his own eyes glassy. "Me too, Willow. More than I ever knew was possible." "I was scared you'd never come," she said, fingers clinging to the fabric of his jacket. "I'm sorry it took me this long to acknowledge what I felt," he said, brushing her cheek. "But I swear I'll spend the rest of our lives proving it to you. Every single day." She nodded through the tears. "I believe you." And in that moment, nothing else existed. Not the pain, not the distance, not the engagement that had almost kept them apart. Just the two of them. And finally, a beginning. 1 year later. The estate garden was in full bloom, soaked in golden late afternoon light. White roses lined the archway, soft music floated from a quartet, and laughter mingled with the sound of glasses clinking. Everything was perfect. Willow stood just behind the curtain, her heart fluttering, not with fear but with joy. Her fingers smoothed the delicate lace of her ivory gown, and when she looked down, her hand rested on the gentle curve of her belly, just enough to show. "I told you you'd give me grandbabies," came her soon-to-be mother-in-law's teasing voice from the side. Willow laughed, eyes shimmering. "At least one for now." "5," the woman said with a wink. Jayden promised. At the sound of his name, Willow's heart skipped. The music shifted. The crowd quieted. It was time. As she stepped into the aisle, her gaze locked with his. Jayden, in a dark tailored suit, looking like her past, present, and future all at once. He looked at her like she was still the most beautiful thing he'd ever seen. Like the woman he fought for, broke for, healed for. The woman he'd chosen every single day since that morning he found her. When she reached him, he didn't wait. He took both her hands in his and pressed a kiss to her knuckles. "Mi amor," he whispered just for her. "You're still the best thing that ever happened to me." The vows were simple, heartfelt. No grand speeches, just promises spoken with trembling voices and full hearts. Later that evening, under fairy lights and stars, they danced barefoot on the grass, his hand protectively over the small life growing inside her. "I still can't believe you're mine," Jayden murmured against her temple. "I always was," she whispered back. He smiled. "Forever. Forever." And somewhere not far from them, a quiet wind passed through the trees, carrying away the old hurts and whispering blessings over everything that was to come.